readings, sort of bedtime readings of cute and cozy kids books on this channel. And little did I know, a friend of mine called Victoria, who has two adorable children called Harry and Jack, puts these recordings on for her kids on the TV so they can watch me read them some bedtime stories. And I went over to her house recently. We do like little, what we call crafternoons, where we do journaling and colouring and things like that. And she asked Harry and Jack, what does Megan do? And they started tapping on the table, and it kind of touched my heart so much. And I was like, I really should do some more of them. So this video is dedicated to Harry and Jack reading them one of their favourite spooky stories. But I secondly wanted this to be a little bit of a semi-collaboration video with their lovely mum, who is called Victoria, and she's one of my bestest friends. And she also has a YouTube channel that's called Victoria Juno. I'm going to link it down below. And she's made a video recently which is all about horror in kids' books and how it's changed over time. So she was actually telling me about it when I went over, and it's honestly really fascinating. She brought out all these examples of really old kids' books, one of which I have with me to read to you today. And it just shows how horror has become quite diluted in today's media, I suppose, for a number of reasons that she explains a lot better than I will. So I will leave you to watch her video on that. But in this book I'm going to read today, it's got quite a harrowing ending that I'm not convinced would have been made today. But actually, Vicky talks about some of the dangers, I suppose, in not exposing kids to horror like that. Or on the flip side. So let me show you what we're going to read, and you'll see why she suggested I did this as an ASMR reading in a second. So the book is called The Tailypo, A Ghost Story. And this guy here is our Tailypo. And this particular monster this curious creature crept through a crack between the logs in the wall. It had a big, long, furry tail. As soon as the old man saw the varmint, he reached for his hatchet, and with one lick he cut its tail off. Before the man could raise his hatchet for a second time, the creature slipped out through the crack and ran away. The old man was still hungry, so he took that big, long tail, cooked it, and ate it. After that, he stuffed up the crack in the wall, and he went to bed. His stomach was full, and he felt so warm and snug that before he knew it, he was fast asleep. The old man hadn't been asleep very long when he woke up. Something was climbing up the side of his cabin. It sounded like a cat. Scratch, scratch, scratch. What's that? The old man asked. He lay still and listened, and after a while, he heard a voice say, "Tailypo, Tailypo, all I want is my Tailypo." The scratching went on, and the old man began to shiver and shake. Then he remembered his dogs. He went to the door and called, "Here, here, here." The dogs came piling out from under the porch, and with their noses to the ground, they chased that thing into the deep, big woods. The old man pulled his covers tightly around him and went back to sleep. In the middle of the night, he woke up again. Now he heard something trying to get in, right above the cabin door. "Who's that?" he called. "And what do you want at this time of night, when all good folks should be in bed?" He listened, and he could hear it going, scratch, scratch, scratch. Then he heard the voice say, "Tailypo, Tailypo, I'm coming to get my Tailypo." The old man was so scared he couldn't stand up. So he called his dogs from his bed. "Uno, Eno, come Tico, Calico, here, here, here." And those dogs came bursting around the corner of the cabin. They caught up with that wild thing at the gate and tore the whole fence down trying to get at it. They chased it into the swamp. At last, all was quiet again. With a weary sigh, the man went back to sleep. Towards morning, something down in the swamp woke up the old man. First, he thought it was the wind, being louder than usual. But when he listened again, he heard that crying voice. "You know, and I know, all I want is my Tailypo." and barred the door. And then he went to bed. Just before daylight, the old man opened his eyes, the way people do when they feel there's someone else in the room. Something was stirring among the pots and the pans. Then something that sounded just like a cat began climbing up the covers at the foot of the bed. The man listened and heard it scratch, scratch, scratch. He looked over the foot of his bed and saw 2 pointed ears. And then he saw 2 big, round, fiery eyes looking at him. The man wanted to call for help, but he was too scared. That thing kept creeping up until it was right next to the old man. Then it said, in a low, low voice, "You know, and I know, that I'm here to get my Tailypo." The man sat up and pulled the covers over his head. All at once he got his voice and said, "I haven't got your Tailypo." "Yes, you have," said the thing. "Yes, you have." And it jumped on top of that man and scratched